Today I have what I call a budget memorial build. Someone is unable to come into the shop and build their own arrangement to gift to someone as a memorial plant. So they have asked me to design one for them. So with this, I will tell you a little bit about how the shop works. People come in and then I have them take a look at this inspiration table that has some previous things that people have built in my shop, so they can get a little bit of inspiration as to the direction that they want to go, whether they want it to be more plant heavy or if they want to have some rivers or paths. So this is just a little idea generating spot. And then they come over here and they pick their pot based on the general design that they would like to do. The center pots have the wider mouth so that people can put paths and rivers and ponds and things. They also browse these little items. They want a swan or a panda or a little frog or a dog that happens to look like their dog, which is always fun. Today we're going to use these memorial rocks. My favorite one says, "A beautiful soul has left me a trail of memories." That is an all-time favorite for me. They look at these structures. Will you have a path? Will you have a river? Will you have a bridge? So when people come in, they pick their pot, they get a little general idea of where they want to go with things, and then they bring their pot and their little pieces over to the plant area, which I'll show you in a moment. Included in the pot price is these decorative things, and I teach you how to make paths and pools and ponds and help you with some of the contrasting colors and size of the rocks in relation to the plants. So once you get your items, you come over here with your pot and your items, and we begin to envision your succulent landscape or fairy garden or arrangement. And there are plants of all shapes and sizes and colors. These plants are very often changing as I get new stock and we use what we have. But there are some regulars that I always restock. Always the string of pearls. They're a very popular one. So those are mostly Echeveria, and I have this shop in Ohio. This is a south-facing window. I keep all of these plants here and they do fabulously. If I purchase a plant and it does not grow the way that I know that it's supposed to grow, if it gets etoliated, elongated, it's not the right color, it's not the right shape, then I do not carry that plant anymore. And there's some up there and a bunch of things that I need to propagate over there. So we have this memorial build. I have already selected the pot. I have already selected the plants. So I'm gonna get it planted, and then I'll do a little pause while I move over to the decorating table and we can see what we're gonna do with that. So when you come in, you do have the choice to plant your own. This might actually, I want it to be able to turn it around for you, but it's probably gonna get too wobbly, so I'm gonna move that out. You have the choice to plant your own. If there are larger groups, then I will instruct everyone on planting at the same time so that there's not a line of people waiting for me to assist you in planting. These, for the most part, have the soil that they need. This one has some roots on the outside. It's not an urgent thing to give it more soil, but that does tell me that if I put an inch of soil around this root ball, that it will not have too much soil that will keep the roots too wet for too long. So I know that I can put soil around this one I wanted this one in the back to have some height. And I want to angle this one forward. We're just gonna let that fall down for a second. But what I'm running into here is that this root ball is a little bit too big. And these roots, I'm just gonna try not to break them. It's not terrible if you do. They regenerate so easily. If I took this all the way down to here and it was just roots, it would be totally fine. They would just grow more roots and carry on. So I need some more space. We don't want to throw those in there. It doesn't matter that much, but prefer not to fill the dirt with that. So I want to angle this. I am amending the root ball so that it fits in here in the manner that I want it to. And I think this is a pretty good spot for it. Maybe a little bit higher. And we can turn. Now, I always say you want to make the succulents faces look at you, because typically you're going to have a sun source, your south or east facing window over here. And if you have succulents all around looking in all directions, then when you face this side to the window, the other side is not going to get light. So instead of designing around, I design from the back to the forward to the front. So I would consider this face right here for the one in the back to be about right there. So now those two faces are looking forward, and that's going to give you the best look. So I know that I have a nice healthy root system on both of these plants. I am not concerned with the amount of soil that I put in this pot. But I am positioning these root balls to the back. They're kind of angled this way. They're back there. And they're gonna have this fresh new soil back here to grow into. On the front, I'm gonna have some decorative rock with the memorial stone. So I always put lava rock as much as possible underneath areas where I'm going to be putting a lot of decorative stone. Because when you put the decorative stone on top, it does retain moisture because it restricts the airflow to that spot. So often in my designs, the root balls are pointing back, all the soil is in the back, and the design is in the front with lava rock, which is just landscape lava rock. You can get a big bag of it at Lowe's. The only problem when you're not going through as much of it as I am is that sometimes they can be a little bit too big. But it's a big bag, so you would find some use for the bigger ones, and there's a lot of small ones that are in the bag. And you know what? I have more succulents to put in here, so I'm not going to put the lava rock on this side. On this side. All right, those are pretty well fixed. They're not going to stand up on their own until I finalize this, so I'm just going to keep holding them there. Succulents will lose their lower leaves. They get crispy, and that is fine. They also may be softer than the other leaves when they're on their way out. I always talk about watering succulents based on how they feel when you squeeze them. You squeeze their leaves. This one is actually soft, which you can't feel. If you were here, I would have you squeeze it. It's a little soft, just medium maybe, with a little wrinkle feel on these bottom leaves, and they lose their water from the bottom up. So I always test on the bottom and then the next row and get a feel for how those two are doing. I'm going to remove this to get this in here in a good spot. So since this is a memorial arrangement, I always try to choose the most flowery looking succulents, because I know that the typical memorial arrangement is a real flower, not a succulent plant. And so I want to try and make it look like a real flower arrangement, only it will last for years and years and potentially introduce someone to succulents and make them love them for the rest of their lives. Once you start, it's hard to stop. So we've got good dirt around there. This is one of my favorite ones. I love how the tips are so pink. I probably say that a lot in my videos. This is one of my favorite ones. There's a lot of my favorite ones here. And this too is pretty root bound, which is completely fine. I don't up their pot sizes because it's really not necessary. They drink up the water in these roots, and I know that they're going to get some nice fresh soil when I repot them. So I'm kind of creating double work if I repot them and then someone comes in this week and says, ooh, I love that one. So I just loosen it up a little bit. Alrighty. So I definitely want that root ball to be pointing back. This is going to be so lovely. I am looking forward to it. I'm just going to put a small amount of soil up here in the front just to fall into the holes right underneath it. It will all find its way in there. So the place where we decorate on top of these lava rocks is pea gravel, which is also available at Lowe's in a very large bag. So you probably only have to buy it once in your plant journey. That will be plenty. Probably get a bigger spoon for a second. All right. So for this particular pot, this is the decorative space. These are gonna be awesome. I'm so excited. I love it when people call in budget builds because I get to go through the creative process. And though I love helping people go through it, it's nice to just have a 67-degree day in November with the garage door open, designing a succulent arrangement. So I leave some space up here for the decorative rock to rise up to the edge. When you're designing things like this, you don't want to leave this gap here. You want to design it straight up to the edge of the pot so that it appears as one piece. When it's finished, it makes it all cohesive. So back here, this guy is going crooked on me. So I'm gonna fix that. And that's good. This root ball could use a little bit. And this soil is plenty for all of these plants to be more than happy for probably 2 years. Maybe after a year, you could put some fertilizer in it during growing season. April to October, just a little fertilizer in your water, and that will reinvigorate this soil that already has fertilizer in it. But you water succulents so infrequently that you don't need to change their soil quite as often because you're not constantly running water through it and depleting all those nutrients over and over and over again. They It's just sitting there nutrient rich and they're happy as can be. So I'm gonna put a small layer of pea gravel back here. No one's really going to see it, but what I'm doing here, I don't want it to be super thick because of what I explained to you with the moisture retention, but a little bit isn't gonna hurt. And I can even put a little bit of black rock on top of this, and that will also be fine. It's just a thin layer here to prevent all this very light soil with perlite in it from floating up when we water it. So with these, I will move it back on here so that I can show you how I water these. So this pot has a drainage hole. I know it's unpopular, but I don't personally require drainage holes in the ways that I design these because I water precisely for how much I want to saturate this amount around this plant. And if there's a drainage hole, then it goes out the drainage hole. So I can't water this necessarily with my typical, I use these squeeze bottles, which you can find on my Etsy shop. I love these, they're some of my favorite things. But typically I'll do like a 7 to 10 count on a plant this big. This one doesn't need water, so I'm just gonna wet that rock a little bit. And I'm gonna put some black on it, so I don't even really need to wash that. This one also is firm and doesn't need water. This one does need water because it's a little bit soft, very, very slightly soft. So I like how this water bottle waters it nice and slow and directly. So I am mainly saturating where this one has roots. So this is really wet now. And I'm minding the fact that there is a drainage hole. So typically if there's not a drainage hole, I would do like a 7 to 10 count. Even in this instance, I might try a 7 to 10 count and then just check its firmness in a couple days. And if it hasn't firmed up, I'll do it again. But those are firm, so I'm gonna ignore that. If I was gonna water it, I would put this right in the center and I would squirt that stem just so that it's right all up in that one's roots. And this one does not need water, but I would do the same as I did on the other side. Just try to get this root ball to be really saturated. So I am going to move over here to the decorating table. Whoops. So what can be helpful here to decide what color you want to put down is to take these little spoons and hold them up underneath. The lighting here isn't awesome to see on the camera, but that is a great way to handle that. This particular one has one of these rocks, so I'm going to take a black one and a white one in case I want one or the other to change out. So here, we need to decide what to do. And I'm gonna be totally honest, I have not decided yet. So if I'm super indecisive, I might just need to pause the video while I decide and then come back, but maybe it'll just come to me real quick. I think I'm leaning towards black because of the black bowl, and I don't know if lighter colors let's try this. I like to look at how it sets off the succulents. And I think that the black is going to set off the side succulents and the center more effectively than the white one is going to. And I have several black options. So I'm gonna get this one. I think I'm gonna ultimately go with a shiny black, these. But before I do the shiny black, I am going to put this down so that it's not quite as tan right underneath. If I'm doing one of the glow in the dark beads, I always put white underneath it like this. That way it makes the blue stick out, makes it more vibrant. Actually, under any blues, I'd put white under this one too. But I will spare you explaining all of my different rock choices here because there are a lot of them. All right, I have not decided yet if I wanted to make this a path, because the rock does say, "A beautiful soul has left me a trail of memories," which makes me kind of want to put a trail on it. There's not a lot of space for said trail. I think this is going to be pretty beautiful, and I am so glad for the person who's going to receive it. And there, I have a lava rock that has made its way into the center. All right. So far, I'm pretty happy with this. I don't know what else I might do. We have this rock, which I think is going to be the winner because of the contrast. I'm a big, big fan of contrast, which is why I chose these plants to go on the sides of this. I didn't want to put plants that were this color on these sides so that they could set off and you could see. A beautiful soul has left me a trail of memories. I think I'm not gonna put a trail in there because it might make it too busy. But I will break up the black a little bit with these. They're pretty small little diamond things. And if you just place a few of them, maybe this is the trail. Trail of diamonds here. It's creativity. It can be whatever you want it to be. I think that's good. I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna say that is good. Or do I put another one of these? Or another 3, you know. I think that's good. Bam. Stop touching it now. All right. I am going to send a photo of this to the customer in Kentucky who has called this in for his very dear friend. If you'd like to see more caring for succulents and succulent arranging, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.